Well, we've reached the stage where we have to start checking things off of a list to try to get everything done and in some kind of order. So I made a roadkill type list of things that need to be done here. Okay, fun times here. Working on the rust on the driver's side in the fender well. And I cut an opening here. I'm slowly cutting this out. But I wanted to show detritus that's collected inside here. And you can see back there how scaly the inner toe board's getting from the back side. So this is a problem. This area didn't look that big, but once I started hitting it with the hammer and poking it with the screwdriver, it really opened up into a much larger area of problem. So we're going to have to fix that, make a patch. And this is really thick steel here too. I forget what gauge it is, but I want to say it's 16. I don't know if that's right. And then we've also got, of course, issues underneath here too that we're going to have to deal with. But before I vacuum all this out with the Binford 6100 there, I wanted to show you this mess that's going on in here. You know, there's no drain for moisture really in these things. And so any water that collects in there starts to rust. And as soon as it gets a hole someplace, it brings in all the mud and sand and dirt and debris with it. And this is all just between the cleaning off the apron here and removing the suspension. And also we've got this area in here. This is a very key area. If you're shopping these cars, you're going to want to poke with a screwdriver and make sure that this frame rail, the top of the frame rail in here, is okay, because that's a real problem if that gets rusty there. But this is all really nice and solid in here. No worries there. And I'm just going to give that some protective paint coating and do a little seam seal in there where it came out. And then we should be good to go to start putting it back together. One of the things that hasn't been done yet that I've been kind of putting off is dealing with the front brakes, because I do so love working on drum brakes. But this is basically just putting wheel cylinders on. The shoes were fine, and I'm not going to get these things all spiffy and paint them or anything, because again, these are temporary. They only need to last probably a year. And then we'll replace them with the discs once I get the 5-lug axle and the 5-lug wheels to go with it. But one thing I had to do here was take the grinder to this wheel cylinder to be able to access the nut to install it properly. These are, of course, the greatest high-quality Chinesium that one can buy from Rock Auto. And you know, you're going to have fit issues like that on occasion, so just be prepared for that. And it's just a good idea to do. I mean, even if you're only going to slap these on here and you can get them on with a crescent wrench or something, it's still not a good idea, because someday you might want to take these off, and if you can't get a socket on there, you're really going to have a bad day. These wheel cylinders actually did not look too old. I mean, you can still see that there's clean metal on there, but once I took this one off, you can tell it's a garbage. It's just not worth risking that again. I mean, you can buy rebuild kits for these, but for the cheap price of these cylinders on Rock Auto and places, I mean, there's no real reason to try to rebuild these. The problem with them is that the insides can get pitted and so on, and it might just tear up your new seals once you put them in there. So just get new ones. They're cheap. Well, it's not pretty, but there it is. I got this side patched and welded all together. We'll throw some primer on there, and then we'll seam seal it all and undercoat it, and hopefully no one will ever notice. Well, I can't emphasize enough that when you get parts in, that you need to check them right away, if at all possible, with your other stuff. Now, my control arms were still in the car several months after I ordered these control arms from Rock Auto, but you can clearly see there's a problem with those studs and that inner pivot. Now, the control arms themselves don't seem to be a problem. In fact, the new ones fit in the shock tower much better than the old ones do. The old ones, I don't think they would work with the Shelby drop, to be honest, because they're a little too wide, which is interesting. But now we gotta try to swap the pivots around so that they fit the Falcon shock tower holes. Lovely. My belt weather strips were on back order and they finally came in, and there's a story that goes along with that I'll tell in a little bit. But I finally got these, and important note on these. These are left and right. The inside one's got this cutout, which will go towards the vent window. And the inner one, or excuse me, the outer one, where the clips begin is different. Front and rear, the spacing is different. So you want to make sure you get these right. I had to trim both of these to fit the door. They came a little too long. So you want to make sure you do that before you clip them in, because once they're clipped in, they're really hard to get back out again. And removing these old ones is a real delight too. I still have to do this one. You have to be careful not to butcher the door where the clips go in as you try to get these old things out. So they're stubborn, and they're two different type of clips. These you can see are spring clip with a little tang at the bottom. And this guy, well, these replacements are the same, but the ones that came out were two different ones, I believe. At any rate, they're fun. Yeah, you'll have a good time with those. But make note of that. It doesn't necessarily say in the instruction sheet that they are different left and right. Hey folks, wanted to talk about the belt moldings for the doors. They were on back order for quite a while from Autocrafters, and I got them in finally. And the package that I got was actually a set for a 4-door. The box was labeled correctly for a 2-door. So the error was done at the factory where they were made, not by Autocrafters. So I contacted Autocrafters by phone and told them what happened. And they sent out a replacement set for a 2-door. And I got them the next day, which is pretty remarkable. They did not charge me for them. They told me to send the old ones back, and they would refund the shipping cost for me to return them. So kudos to Autocrafters. I buy a lot from them. I don't buy everything, but I've not had any problems with them, and their prices have been pretty reasonable. And so I'm going to give them a shout out here because I think they earned it. They took care of the problem and made me happy, and I have no complaints whatsoever. I mean, mistakes happen, and it was something that they even didn't have anything to do with. So for them to do what they did, I think speaks quite highly of them. So just wanted to throw that out there in case you're looking for places to buy parts. This is not a paid endorsement. They have not given me anything for free. I have had to pay for every single thing I've bought, and I have the invoices to prove it, and so there's that. But I wanted to give them a proper shout out for being a company that did the right thing. Speaking of which, the fuel line, which I did not get back yet from the right stuff, they are supposedly making me one from my old one, and are going to send that to me. And I don't believe there's going to be any additional charge for that either. But I'll report on that in the next installment once I actually have it and can comment with some knowledge and authority on it. So anyway, I'll update that next time, and back to the show. One of the problems I had with this car was that the steering seemed stiff, even with all the linkage disconnected. So did some research on this, and you want to grease the gearbox for the steering. It does not take oil. Read a lot about this, and you should not be putting gear oil in there. This should be packed with a moly grease. So you take the fill plug out, which is that one, and this top bolt out, and just pump moly grease in there with your grease gun until it starts to come out the hole here. And then turn the steering wheel the opposite direction. It should start at one lock and then go turn it the whole way the other lock. When I took the plug out, the box looked empty. I mean, I could barely see anything in there as far as grease goes. So it took an entire tube of moly grease, and probably could have taken even a little bit more, but it's pretty full, so I'm not going to worry. But that's how you do that. And again, be sure to use moly bending grease. You don't want to put regular wheel bearing grease in there. It's not the correct stuff. So that's how you do that, and we'll see if it solves the problem. All right, we're slowly crossing things off the list, although not at a pace that I would like. Still have some things to do. We solved the control arm issue, at least figured out what was wrong. Rock Auto mislabeled their catalog, online catalog, and said that the 66 was the same as 63 through 65, which it is not, as we saw in the other illustration, that these studs are completely the wrong size or spacing, and the control arms now are. So we can't use them. We have to order new ones from somebody else, I guess, because Rock Auto no longer has them listed. Huh, wonder why. We got the door trim panels installed. Windows all back together. Belt moldings installed. New rim channels installed. This window regulator, I have a suspicion, might just be garbage. Did all the adjustments I could to it, and the window still wants to fall down by itself when you close the door. So I may have to order a window regulator at some point. We're going to do the bungee cord for the time being until I can be sure that's what it is, because they're not inexpensive. The door panels are back on, and they're kind of fun, that was sarcasm, to put on, because they just slide into these channels top and bottom. And you got to bend the board, the door card, to get it in those two slots. And of course the board gets brittle as it gets old, so you got to be very careful with that. Did not break mine, proud to say, but a lot of cars are going to have problems doing that. Still waiting on the seats. Less we have said about that, the better, because they're at the upholstery shop, and I don't have much nice to say about them. I'm just hoping the finished product is worth the wait. I got my steering parts out and started getting those ready to put together, and I got my my threaded sleeves, got my outer tie rod ends, and I don't know where my inners are. I'm convinced that I ordered them, but I can't find them. I don't know where they are. So that's a problem. So I got to check my invoices and see if I actually did order them, if I'm just having a senior moment, as I am almost a senior. Shelby drop holes are drilled for the one side. I didn't do the other side yet because I still have to take the suspension out, but got those drilled. Now the control arms don't fit in here anymore. The ends are hitting on this bubbled out part here. And the Falcon guys are telling me that I might just have to whale on it with a hammer to make clearance. So there's that. And I got the seam sealer on patches. It's not pretty. Don't care. It's going to be covered with rubberized undercoating, so you don't see it anyway. And that's kind of where we are at the moment. So, going to check on some parts. Oh, I got a vintage license plate for the front. This car's spent its entire life in Maryland before I got it, so I went with a Maryland tag. It's a PA. The seat belts got washed and scrubbed, and they're okay. They actually cleaned up pretty nice, but the buckles are really not in good shape. They're you can't really see that, but there's like rust down inside there too. And I don't think I'm going to use those, actually. I'm probably just going to buy new ones. I was trying to get ones that were color matched to the interior, but I'm not sure that I can match the shade close enough, so I might just go with black ones again, like the factory put in. I think they look a little odd, but safety is more important than appearance. So that's where we are, knocking these things out and Still hoping to get this thing done in time to take it to the Falcon Nationals in July. So that gives me about a month and a half to go, which shouldn't be a problem. I wanted to have this thing on the road by Ford Carlisle, even though I wasn't going to take it, which that's next week, so that won't happen. But we're going to keep plugging away at it. So we're getting close. Putting the suspension back together with the new parts won't be too bad. The final rust hole down here, the really bad one, I may not get that done in time. I'll try, but that one may just get pop riveted over for the time being, depending on what my schedule's like. So there we are. I'm going to end this installment now, and we'll follow up again once I either find my parts or order new ones. It's always something. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching as always.